Forget your designer and stock images. You don't need anything more than the prompts and the processes that I'll show you in this video to create these thumb-stopping visuals. And it doesn't matter what your use case is as a marketer, whether it's an image for LinkedIn, a thumbnail, or something for social, you can create something that is on brand and consistent with these prompts and processes. Like for example, here is something that I might have used for my blog. This was the initial inspiration, something that I liked that I wanted to create around. And so you can see that the theme here is around LinkedIn content. And so ultimately I chose this one. This is for my SaaS. It is Brand Marketers. It's an employee advocacy tool to help employees be more active on LinkedIn. So I wanted to get this LinkedIn feel here and get something that showed some dashboards and some content ideas. And so this is the actual blog post, and I'll show you how I did this. So in this video, I want to show you both my ChatGPT thread, so you can see the back and forth and the different images that I'm getting and the iterative process of ultimately arriving at the image that I want to use, as well as the process, like the framework behind why I'm chatting in the way that I am. So to start, we'll start with the objective, asset, and prompt workflow. So this is a framework where the objective is basically you're explaining to ChatGPT, and mind you, you need to use the 4O image model, why you're doing this. So for example, it might be a YouTube thumbnail that might stop a scroll or get a click, or it might be a blog image, a LinkedIn, a carousel, it doesn't matter, but you want to specify what the objective is. Then you want to get specifics on the asset. So what channel you're using, the aspect ratio. So is it going to be a landscape or a portrait? So 9:16 or 16:9 or square. And then you want to work on the specific prompt where you're working with a prompt. Maybe you're giving some of the inputs. We'll get into what these inputs are. And then you're getting the output, and then you're going to critique, refine, and that's an iterative process. So this isn't going to be a one-shot prompt. You will get a better output if you're going back and forth. So let's go into the ChatGPT thread and you can see what it is. So to start, I actually wanted to just feed it. I took a screenshot of the homepage. So this is a homepage of Brand Marketers. I wanted to give it an idea of what this company actually is. What are we working with? So the focus here was both on the layout. So it got the visuals, like the brand guidelines and styles. So this could include stuff like what the font is, what the styling is, what the colors are, as well as the actual content of the site. So what are we focusing on? What does Brand Marketers do? So if we go to the homepage here, this is exactly what that screenshot was. This is the actual website as opposed to the screenshot. So you can see here that my prompt is basically, here's a homepage. I want you to create a high-level brand guidelines that I can use. And this is really important. This is going to be something that I am going to use on an ongoing basis, whether it's for writing copy, whether it's for taking visuals, whether it's for creating visuals for an ad. This is going to be really helpful so you can see that it's going to be the through line of all the brand assets that I'm going to create. And so we get the output of the visual identity guidelines. So we get the core brand personality. Ironically enough, this is some of the stuff that I was looking for when I actually created the design of the homepage, which was like slightly futuristic. I wanted to focus on some of the team building stuff, some of the look that is consistent with some of the AI sites now. Color palette, so this is helpful too. So this purple, neon blue, dark black, of course, this is what you'll see on the homepage here. Then the typography, the layout and grid, the imagery style, and all these things. So now we got this. Let's go through and I want to say, okay, so let's create an image for the blog post. So this is where we're going to, what the objective is. I wanted to create an image, a feature image for this blog post. And here's the different parameters that I want it to have, the lighting, the style, the mood, the depth. So let's get into the details here. So when I'm creating the prompt, these are basically some mix and match templates. You can just almost fill in the blank in your prompt. So use this or something similar so that you can have a consistent output. And then when you get to the next step, when you're trying to leverage the API and you're doing this at scale, this is really helpful because when you're creating your N8N automations or your make automations, you can just have a placeholder for the camera, the image type, the lighting type, and then you can fill in the blanks programmatically. That's another thing, but it always helps anyway just to have some of these things so that you can get some kind of consistency in terms of what the style is. And then also just so you're reminding yourself, if you're using the chat assistant, the 4O model, that you can include these things. So I did this here, and this is the initial output. This is absolutely not what I wanted. And one side note here, it is ideal, I think, to not include the prompt, the text in the first output. So it says here the B2B SaaS CEQs complete guide. So that's exactly why. The text is wrong. It's not what I want. And it's just far harder to change this afterwards in the image, as opposed to, say, take this image, upload it to Canva, and then superimpose the text. So it's just a helpful hint there. This is not what I wanted. So then I took a different approach. And this is a helpful tip too, is if you see something that you like, so say you have an ongoing swipe file of the type of visuals that you like to have, use that and then use AI to reverse engineer what that visual looks like in text. So I took this is actually from Canva, and I said describe key visual elements and style so I can reapply them, but without copying it. And I think with OpenAI, it is important to give that leeway so that there isn't copyright infringement, or that it's not a direct copy, but it's inspired by these images from Canva. And what's great is that it took that image and then in its own language, it explained what it is in terms of the word, the text. So that's exactly similar to what I see here in the different brand guidelines that I had for brand marketers. We're actually seeing some very similar outputs for what I uploaded, the image that I uploaded. So once we have this as an input, we can say, okay, let's work from this and then let's create another image based on that. This was another image. This was something that I saw on a website, and I thought it was interesting that it was an image as well as some of the doodles here to just add another flair. So how can I do that? And the whole point here is that I'm using AI almost as a sparring partner, as a guide, because I don't necessarily know the words to describe what I'm looking for, but I do know what I'm looking for. And that's the beauty of having these multimodal models, is that you can upload images, you can upload text, you can upload PDFs, and then you can interact with that with ChatGPT, just texting with it. Now I'm saying, okay, I want to create an image for the blog post. Here are some of the high level inputs that I want. So I want people working in a startup space. I want hyper realistic, I want unique lighting, and I want it in the brand marketer's colors. So remember, that was the reason why we uploaded the website to start with, so that we'd have that baseline of what the brand is. And then I wanted some surreal details to make it unique. I want the hero in the natural context, and then golden hour warm lighting. So that's kind of like at the end of the day, the nice warm light. So what would that prompt be in order to get that? And so this is helpful. I'm basically getting the exact output of what that prompt could be. And if I wanted to use Midjourney, for example, as it notes here, I could just take this exact prompt and bring it to Midjourney. But this whole prompt follows the high level framework that we had here of some of the image types, the camera orientation, the lighting, the palette, the mood, all of these things is captured in this prompt. And then let's see what it comes up with. So just give me that image. And actually, based on what the input was and what I described, I think it actually is quite on point, that there is the hero image. It's a warm team office startup environment, and there are some supernatural type things with this lighting, which is interesting. However, not really what I wanted for this one. So let's actually build an image based on this. So I think I got this from Canva, but I'm going through the same process. So explain this image to me. How can I replicate something like this and then reapply it, but without copying it? Give me the prompt. So basically describe what this is. I'm gonna get the output, and then I'm gonna feed it back in. But there's a trick there with how I do that. So I get the visual output, and then I actually literally just copied and pasted. So I copied that, and then I pasted it in here. If you compare the output of this, the only difference here is that I specified that I wanted LinkedIn content ideas, which is a LinkedIn card with content marketing ideas in the dashboard. And I actually wanted a smartphone here. This is really close to what I had uploaded as the initial image here. So it is I believe it's a confident woman. And I think they include red hair and blue eyes, wearing a blazer centered on a vibrant tech themed interface. So that's really good. But what if I wanted it to be me? Say I want brand marketers to be a little bit more personalized. I basically just took a selfie of myself, as you can see here, took it on my phone, and I was doing this on my phone. I uploaded that image and swap in a photo of myself instead of the woman, and boom, Just like that, it's actually very straightforward. And I think the likeness might be there, but there are some weird things, like we're getting logo here, and that's not what I want. This comma right here by the 2 is a little off. Tip for aggress post. So you can see that the text on this image is not great, but I think the image itself is, as well as the logo and all these things. But here's where you can actually get very specific in how you want to fix this. Is I actually clicked in, and if you click in, you can click here. You can select what it is that you want to change. And let's say, for example, here, I say, make this a Google logo. It will actually go through and replicate the image and make it a Google logo. So it will take a minute to generate the image, but I just want to show that as an example. So I want to actually show you another helpful tip, which is that you're getting AI to critique itself. So it will give you an output, but maybe there is room that it could be better. And so that is the self-critique loop, where you are rating the output 1 to 10, and then improve the image. Give me a prompt and then improve it, and then generate it again. And so you can see here that based on this here, what would you rate this image out of 10 for the blog, B2B SaaS CEO's complete guide, and then how can it be improved? And so I'm giving it an opportunity to identify where things aren't as good as it possibly could be, and then an opportunity to improve it. So what works well here is a human connection, the LinkedIn theme, the marketing dashboard, I would agree. But where can it be improved? Add a team element, strengthen the call to action, typography, and refine the color balance. So I said, okay, you know what? Let's do that, generate the new version. And so we can see here that this is a team version, LinkedIn. But then there's some weird things here where there's that image, that thing there by the LinkedIn, not exactly what I want, but let's try again. So I just say, hey, let's create another variant to improve or test the click-through rate. And this is it. You can see the image here gets a little funky, and then the text. But you can see here that this is kind of like a back and forth process. Here at the end, I said, create a different variant that is more eye-catching. Don't include the text or the title. And then this is what I got. And I actually think that this is quite a good one. However, it's not necessarily the theme that I wanted. I wanted something that was more hyper-realistic and photorealistic. There are a few other tips that I wanted to share that are really helpful if you're trying to improve your output and consistency with ChatGPT image generation. One is that you can just swap things out. So remember, there was one image where it suggested that the color could be better. How can I do that? Well, you can swap out the different colors. So that's attribute swapping, changing here, which creates different variations that you can test. There is region replace. So in the actual image, this is where I said, create a Google logo instead of just quote unquote logo. So you can click on the image, select the image, and then you can change it. And then another thing too, is if you are, say, creating a series of images for a carousel, or say you want to do a series of images, you can actually use that, and you can say maintain identical palette and camera angle, but vary the metaphor on each slide. So something like that would be helpful for a carousel, just to protect yourself if you are afraid. Legality and compliance is something that is very important, of course, when you're working with AI. List any possible IP or policy risks in the last image and propose fixes. So that's something maybe that you want to do as you're running through it if you are using this for commercial purposes. I'm not sure, I don't necessarily have that concern, but it is something that you might want to use or consider. Now, this is just a snippet, just scratching the surface of what you can do with ChatGPT images. But what would the use cases be? How can you actually apply this? And so there are different stages of the funnel that you could use these images, and you could use it one at a time in the chat like I was doing, or you can use it with the API. Be careful with the API, because I have run up bills by running an automation, not realizing how many outputs it would have. And it does get pricey, which is probably why ChatGPT throttles the image output to just 1 per chat or 1 per prompt. Some places that you can use these images are for paid ads. So you can create a variety of variations, a bunch of variations very quickly, as you saw, for your socials, for YouTube, TikTok, Reels, as your thumbnails, podcasts, press releases, blog images. So that's what I was doing in this case. LinkedIn carousels, ebooks, landing page copy, customer case studies, ad variants, email. I mean, there are so many different ways, of course. And when I started the video, I was saying, Forget your designers, forget stock images, use ChatGPT. And as you can see, there are literally infinite ways that you can create images, and especially once you have an image and you're just modifying and iterating, tweaking just by clicking in on the image as I was doing here. Select, make the changes you want, and then type it out. So as I was playing with this, I found that limiting the number of requests in this edited selection does help, so that you're not overwhelming the image and then you're not changing too many things at once and things go far awry and very different from what they were initially. So now, just to review the process again, I thought it might be helpful on how you can do this and then how you can actually scale this and do this in a replicated way so that you're getting the consistent output. And the first is just to create your brand kit. So it could be as simple as you saw what I did, upload an image of the screenshot or the whole screenshot, and then you are getting stuff like your hex codes, your typography, the logo, the general brand voice, and then this can inform the images that you're getting as an output. When you're actually using the prompts, define the marketing objective. So remember, you want to have your overview of what the objective is, the asset, so the specifics of it, like the camera angle, the light, the color, and then you want to have the prompt itself. So ask ChatGPT to help with what that prompt would be, especially if you're uploading with an image. Get that image which is your inspiration, something that you like. Have ChatGPT tell you what that is in text. So ultimately, you are reverse engineering with text. So paste 1 or 2 images, reference images, and then describe key visuals, key traits I must keep. And so what's helpful is you just start having a swipe file. So it could be, the Notion extension or Airtable extension where you're just saving all these images. And I find that generally this is helpful whether you're coming across an image or a post or just a video idea. These are helpful, especially now where you can get AI to help you flesh these ideas out. Start building out your swipe file so that this is helpful where you're actually coming up to create the images. You can just pull those, upload it, get a prompt of what that is, and then replicate that. And then once you are creating your images, then follow that simple template. So I'll bring it up here again. These are the types of things that are helpful in your prompt so that you're getting the best output. So the camera, the image type, the primary subjects, the lighting, the time, style reference, palette, all of these things, include them. Just create a template so you can include it in your prompt. So it goes something like this, and then it's consistent on an ongoing basis. And then lastly, in terms of consistency, if you find a prompt or a type of style, something that you like, save it, and then you have it on an ongoing basis so that you can get that consistency. And don't forget, if you want to include yourself, say this is for social media, you can take a selfie of yourself, upload it, and then have that image be incorporated into the image, that all of a sudden the outputs of your images are far more personalized because they can actually look like you. If you need help with actually creating it, you want a hands-off approach, a done-for-you approach where we do all the strategy and all the execution, click the link below. Happy to jump on a call and show you how I can help you do that. And if you're looking to learn how to actually write the content with AI, write high quality content with AI, click this link in the video where I show you the step-by-step process and the prompts that you'll need.